Africa Climate Resilient Investment Facility, AfriRES, strengthening capacity of member states and stakeholders to build climate-resilient investments in transport, energy, agriculture, water, and ecosystem sector.
So my name is Linus Mofor. I'm a Senior Environmental Affairs Officer with the African Climate Policy Center of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. So AfriRES is the Africa Climate Resilient Investment Facility Program. It is an initiative of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the African Union Commission, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, with support from the Nordic Development Fund. It was established to support African countries and various stakeholders with the capacity and tools to integrate climate resilience in investments in key sectors such as energy, water, agriculture, transport, cities, ecosystems. Well, it's needed at this particular time because, with the SDGs 2030 timeline just around the corner, there are still huge investment gaps to happen in Africa, in agriculture, in energy, in all these sectors that we mentioned. But for those investments to happen, we have to be sure that they will perform under future climate and also perform now, because we don't know what future climate there will be. So in 2015, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, together with the World Bank, published a report called Enhancing the Climate Resilience of Africa's Infrastructure. And that revealed a lot of things. For example, that under certain climate scenarios, certain water basins, such as the Zambezi, could lose up to 60% of the hydropower production potential. So we felt that that was a big finding. That's just one of the many of them. And therefore, we needed to do something to say, if you have a big gap to close with the investments on the continent, we know that Africa is being impacted the most by climate change, then those investments have to have some confidence that they will perform, otherwise the investors wouldn't come. And on the continent, we don't have the tools and the capacity to do that. And so as a progression from the ECRI, the Enhancing the Climate Resilience of Africa infrastructure work, we decided to establish AfriRES as a way of supporting that availability of that capacity and tools on the continent. So this training is a long-term training program as a legacy of the AfriRES initiative, and we're doing it with our dedicated training arm of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, which is the Institute for Economic Development and Planning, IDEP, in Dakar. And we developed a very comprehensive training program under 3 packages. The first training package is focused on resilience, understanding what it means, understanding climate models and so on, and understanding how you do decisions or how you take decisions in an environment of uncertainty, such as provided for by uncertainty of climate change. Then we have a second training package. This is focused on for technical people in the different sectors that we've mentioned: energy, agriculture, water, transport, cities, ecosystems, and so on. And then we have a third one, which is about communicating resilience and also financing resilience. So we feel that this is a very important package that is out there, delivered through our IDEP Center for member states, for technical people in civil society, academia, project developers, and so on. And it's available online and also in person. So we had the first cohort now of graduates for the first one going through the training technical segment. We now have to move to the tech segment, and then we hope to have also resources to continue providing this training for many people, because the demand is there. We have so many people registered hundreds of people registered on the program, but there's only a certain amount we can train at any one time. It is absolutely free, completely free. As I said, it's being funded for at the moment by the Nordic Development Fund, and it's completely free. Well, the online segment, students do them at their own pace under the management of the online course tutors. And then when they complete that one, once we have enough cohort to go to the next technical segment, we then organize it, and that takes at least in-person component of between 3 days and 5 days for in-person. But between that, they've been doing online modeling, They get trained in some software that can be used in the different sectors. And also after the in-person training, they continue with the modeling assessment that are done, and then they finish with an assessment. But the idea is that hopefully by the time we develop this program further, we have the opportunity to work with universities on the continent and outside of the continent, because the program is tailored at master's level, to then see if we can have an assessment procedure where students who successfully pass the training can accumulate those credits and transfer them towards a recognized qualification. But that is not yet implemented, but it is our objective. So for the technical training package one, which is geared at people in the media, civil society, legislators, policymakers, technical people, is for everyone. But it will normally require you to have at least a first degree level and preferably a master's level. The technical segment, again, is a master's level technical program, and it requires you, so if you're going for the track on water, then you should have a first degree in water or environment related area. Similarly for transport, energy, and so on. Then normally when the course is launched, it's launched through the website of EDEP, and you go to the UN EDEP website, and the announcement will be made there. EDEP also has a database to the member states where they send all the announcements to, but also on the website of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, they will normally, when the course is advertised, it will also be there. What we hope to achieve is building towards a critical mass of people on the continent and tools on the continent. For example, in the training package when I mentioned to you, led by the World Bank, we've developed something called the Resilience Booster tool, which is again freely available online, that project developers, policymakers can go to start the process of seeing how resilient their projects are. And so the same will apply, that we, through this training, have enough people on the continent over time who have the capacity and the tools that they can use to integrate climate resilience in investment, because the key issue is that we don't want to, you need a lot of money to come into the continent for investment. But we also saying that the continent is hugely impacted by climate change, and therefore we need to give the confidence that when investors are coming to invest on the continent, those investments have taken into consideration climate change to ensure that they will perform in today's climate and tomorrow's climate. Okay, so the AfriRES program, the value proposition of the AfriRES program is that it is anchored on linking with the climate science community, linking with policy makers, and linking with the investors and the finance sector to do this integrated investment in climate sensitive sectors. But of course, you cannot integrate climate resilience if you don't have the climate information and services that are needed. And of course, in Africa, we have a big shortage of that. So for that reason, the Economic Commission for Africa has a program called the Climate Research for Development in Africa, CR4D, which is being implemented in collaboration with the World Meteorological Organization, African Union Commission, through the African Ministerial Conference on Meteorology. And we had the first funding from UK FCDO, formerly DFID, under what is called the Weather and Climate Information Services for Africa. And we have implemented it with the Africa Academy of Science in Nairobi as a research grant manager. We have graduated already 21 professionals. These are people in the early academic profession. But the idea is that the IPCC process, which is based on consensus research, doesn't have much research feeding into that process from Africa. So we feel that it is important to support Africans in Africa to do research on Africa in Africa, so as to help improve Africa's realities in the IPCC process. And we are very pleased and happy that through the wiser support that we had, we already graduated the first 21 set of graduates who have already moved on with their research. And I'm pleased to say that the majority of those are female professionals, and so we're now looking for resources to go into the next phase of the CR4 program to support the investment in climate research and information in Africa. OIE is in what we call the Africa Fellowship Program. So every year, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa recruits around 30 young Africans to develop their capacity through our fellowship program. They work with us in different sectors under different topics, and hopefully that helps them in their career development at a later stage. Again, when it is announced through the website of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and then they apply. Of course, the competition is quite high, but everyone is encouraged to apply and put their best shot in, and fingers crossed they get it, and then they can develop. We've had fellows doing macroeconomics, we have fellows doing climate change, we have fellows doing trade and so on, and social policy, and so on and so forth. All the different areas that the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa is working on, we have fellows every year in those areas here for 1 year. This is a funded program by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa.
AfriRest facility is a joint initiative of the UN Economic Commission for Africa, Africa Union Commission, the World Bank, and the African Development Bank, with initial funding from the Nordic Development Fund. The training, in conjunction with the African Institute for Economic Development and Planning, IDEP, aims at strengthening the continent's decision-makers' capacity to plan, design, and implement climate-resilient projects. IDEP is the UN Economic Commission for Africa's training arm based in Dakar, Senegal.